Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Life After Lockup, Season 2, Episode 1, aired last night. Conspiracy did a little live stream on TikTok, and I was in there listening. Another friend of mine has gotten around the copyright thing and posted it on YouTube. And so I've never watched Season 1. I've seen all the old documentaries from 2016, 2017, 2018, The Act in 2019. I've seen the Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I've seen all the interviews, all of that stuff, but Lifetime, I don't have Lifetime. I know it's on other streaming services now. Never went back and watched it. I didn't have to. There was so many commentary and reaction videos and clips that were circulating all around TikTok and YouTube that I didn't need to do that. I didn't have to watch it. All the main highlights and points were already via clips everywhere. Gypsy goes on to basically insinuate that she still loved Ryan in some kind of weird way, but yet it didn't stop her from leaving him, going off with Ken, having a baby, all of that. That shows to me she's either still was at that time messaging him, which we know, we've seen the messages that there was some communication still happening between them, but that she was using that as a way to make Ken jealous. And nothing says grandiose sense of self like wanting to feel important because two men are clamoring over you. I just think it's all under this disguise of, I'm doing it to give him closure, and I'm doing this because I care about him, and I don't want him to let me ruin his future or the fact that he can find the right person for him. Then you need to be straight up and be like, dude, I thought I could make it work. No. Gypsy was very clear to him when they got married and she was still locked up. She made it very clear to him that she was having dreams about Ken and she was second guessing getting married. Ryan should have listened. He should have listened to what she was telling him. She was trying to tell him that she didn't want to marry him, that she didn't have those feelings, that she still had feelings for Ken. She still had thoughts about Ken. She still had dreams about Ken. Ryan should have took that as a hint and said, wait a minute, are you sure you want to do this? Because clearly she was hinting at it. You need to pick up on those hints that people are laying down. But Ken makes her believe, it doesn't matter. We'll just wing it. We'll figure it out together. Slowly roll, dude. She goes on to talk about therapy, how she supports therapy and how she wanted to do therapy just because of all the changes that are suddenly occurring in their life. And Ken does not seem very receptive to that at all. He goes, but he does not seem like he wants to. Now, the weird thing to me is that Ken has gone on live panels before. And he has said that, with everything that she's been through and all the compassion that I had for her is what compelled me to write to her in the first place. And all the things that she's been through. First of all, you don't know that. You weren't there. So, secondly, if you guys don't remember the worst case of any kind of thing like that happening to a child when they were in their preteens, Jeannie, the feral child, if you do not remember that case, you need to go do your research and do your homework, because that's what happens when somebody suffers that kind of thing. They don't have language skills. They don't have skills to eat them or feed themselves or even to use the bathroom properly. It's literally like being raised with wolves. Jeannie, the feral child, is the worst case that we've ever had in modern time that is documented in history. But that's what happens when somebody suffers that kind of thing. They can't read, they can't write, they don't have language. In fact, their muscles atrophy from immobility. And it's not because there's anything physically or mentally incapable about them. It's what they suffered that forced them to be that way. And it's really unfortunate. It's really sad. But what tells me that Ken doesn't believe it is the fact that Ken is not supportive over the therapy. Like, he feels like he shouldn't have to go. You should. If that's the woman you love and she's the mother to your child, you should support her going to therapy. And you should you should be an active participant in that, because you need to also learn what you can do to help her to be reformed, rehabilitated for the sake of your child. But the fact that you just like really aren't receptive to that tells me that you really don't believe the crap that you have said about, oh, you know, all the stuff that she's went through. Then you would be supportive of any kind of therapy. And in fact, you would be a participant even in hers. You'd be wanting to know, wanting to take her, you know, wanting to do those things. It's hard work. It is hard work. Everything in life is hard work. Nobody tells you when you're younger, hey, you know, being an adult is hard. Being a parent is hard. Being in a relationship or a marriage is hard. Any kind of friendship or relationship is hard. Nobody ever tells you that. Nobody ever tells you, hey, be prepared, because everything in life can be difficult at times. It's not all fairy tales. That's why fairy tales sell. That's why movies like that sell, because it gives us this escapism, this voyeurism of this idealistic happiness in life that is just not based in reality. The point that she's still leading Ryan on and then turning around and telling Ken, would you be receptive to us sitting down and talking? It's like you're using that intentionally to make Ken jealous in some kind of way, shape, or form. Because when you left Ryan and you're divorcing him and you're pregnant with a whole baby, that should be it. It should be done. That's the conversation that should have occurred before you packed your stuff up and left. And even though there's like the whole car scene where they kind of lead up to that, Ryan clearly was not getting the hint. That's why you have to streamline it. You have to say it transparently, honestly, and lay it down exactly as it is. But, you know, Gypsy did do that when they were about to get married. She did tell him she was having dreams about Ken and all of this stuff, and she was really second guessing all of it. And Ryan was not, you know, so he's got his rose-colored glasses on. He's got his blinders on. But I don't like the fact that Ken and her are sitting in the therapy thing. The one thing that makes her break down is the fact that she's crying, not over, you know, not wanting to force Ken, oh, I feel bad because of all of these changes in his life. He clearly is a grown man who knows that he's making the decision to be intimate with somebody and not use any kind of protection or contraception unless you tricked him, which is not an excuse anymore, because there's so many different types of male and female protections and contraceptions that can take place before, during, and after the fact to prevent something like a pregnancy. But, you know, things that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. So that goes on both people. But she breaks down crying, saying that I want him to want this relationship to work. It's like saying, I don't love you. And this is where relationships are always going to sour. And we see that, we know that, we pick up on that, but it's always going to sour because he's with her for the cameras. He's with her because he feels some false sense of infamy and notoriety by being associated and next to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And she's with him because she has this lustful obsession, which she perceives as love. But she breaks down because she wants him to want to be with her, not trusting the fact that if he says he loves you, that you should just trust that. I mean, and you should have been at that place before you got pregnant. But, you know, the whole thing is babies are always a blessing. They're always a good thing. Not even going to say anything about that. I hope and wish the best for them. I really do, for the sake of their child. But that just tells me that you don't fundamentally love that person, because loving somebody comes with loving their flaws, loving the fact that everybody is imperfect. You have to love those imperfections. You have to love those flaws. You have to be accepting of them. That has to be the reason why you love the person even more, because you have to take the good with the bad, the ups with the downs, the ins with the outs. You have to. And if you really love somebody, you love them for who they are, for their good qualities, their bad qualities, everything. You don't love them for how they make you feel. That's not love. That's not love. That is a temporary emotional gratification that you are seeking another to provide you with. And that is a burden and a weight that you should never put on somebody that you truly do love. The burden of making you happy. But I was really disappointed too, because we all don't like, nobody likes Ken. Everybody gets that vibe from him, and your intuition in your gut is always right. I know mine always is. 39 years of life, my intuition in my gut has never been wrong about anybody. Never. But the way he humiliated her at that restaurant, She would not have stood for that if it was Ryan. But she lets Ken do it to her.